What I had is going to be.
Busy day?
I like to give you
A little bit, couldn't get out of my driveway.
No,
Was it icy?
No, it was the telephone pole was cut down. It hit and knocked over in front of my house. So all the trucks lined up in front of my house. Yeah, broken down. They already replaced, they just replaced it about 15 minutes ago.
So what caused that?
They said that one of the truck home by with its gear out caught the telephone.
but everybody, I need to sit down.
Just didn't come out of the house.
I was on the other side.
Yeah, thank God. The other side.
Yeah.
At 5 minutes.
So we're still have a Zoom meeting with
Yes. And
yes.
So
So I volunteered to buy like the district.
Hi, kid. How are you?
People pointed out to people.
well, I understand it's cat. That's your all that on in the news. Being
Careful.
said it was a cat.
And this bothered me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Thank you, Ben.
Oh, there. How are you? Hello, the portrait. Yeah, the whole budget was in yes. But people. Last year we took out a million. I figure. Around 800,000. So we got a silver top of 800,000. It's still one of the lowest in the county. I don't know. Well, if the mill rate doesn't go up, it should remain low. Okay. Gotta talk to Doris. Because the American usually comes out with one of their overview sections. Well, I think this all the way.
He knows what they are.
She told each of the town officers that what their full court is. Yes, she had to, because the timing was the overview. Yep, that's right.
He's in the lost home.
Hey, Darsh.
Yeah.
We were just talking about getting mill rates for the towns this year. If the old view came out, we would have it.
I don't think that's out yet.
Yeah,
I can call around. I'll email everyone like I did last time.
yeah.
Sure.
Got a little bit of time.
Okay, yeah, I'll start it tomorrow.
Obviously, they're gonna do that.
Sure. Okay.
Duplicate.
Yep.
It's exactly 6 o'clock. We can make out, so this select board, they're on time. Yeah.
Welcome. I'm Mary Allen. I'm on the chair of the Surrey Select Board, and it's so nice to see so many of you here tonight. We're double booked tonight. This room is also going to serve as the meeting room for the Comprehensive Plan Committee. And that meeting starts at 7, so we are going to be speeding right along and hopefully be out of their way by about 5 minutes of 7. So what we're gonna do is just a real quick 10-minute intro, some background information with the slideshow. And then we're gonna ask you to do probably the most important part of this meeting is we're gonna break you into some discussion groups, breakout groups. And there are 5 tables around the room, and Gina will explain how that's gonna work after I finish with the slide presentation. And then we'll break you out into groups to do the real hard work tonight, making decisions, hopefully for us to go forward with the plan. We're only gonna talk about Toddy Pond tonight. Silver Lake and Alamoosic Lake are kind of joined at the hip, and that's a whole other situation. So right now, we're just talking about Toddy Pond tonight. Next slide. We've had a lot of people helping us since we started this effort back in July of 2024. Surrey residents have made donations to our legal fund, including an anonymous donor who donated $1,000 in matching funds. So even though our part of the legal bill isn't, it's only 21% out of the total legal fees, because we only own 21% of the properties, it still is adding up. So anyone who wants to contribute, we're taking donations still for our legal fund. Nina Milliken and Steve Bishop have been doing an incredibly good job for us on our behalf, and they're introducing bills to the legislature on our behalf, and they've been working really hard, both with us, coming to some of our meetings in Bucksport every 2 weeks, and then communicating with us constantly about what's happening in Augusta. The TPA, Toddy Pond Association's people have done an incredible job of getting the word out, PR campaigns, brochures, posters. The other Save Our Ponds campaign, the Maine Monitor has done a series of articles on dams, and I would urge you to go to our website, Surrey website, and click on the section under dams, and you'll see the Maine Monitor articles. If you want an education about what's happening with our dams and with dams around the state, that's a good place to start. Kevin Turcott has done an incredible job. Some of the maps that he's created are on the board when he came in, and thanks to him, we've got a lot more information than we would have otherwise. Charlie Block is still doing a business survey. And I think the preliminary results show from the Orland Group and others on Alamoosic, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Gina, but over 90% of the businesses feel that they would be negatively impacted if the dam, Toddy Pond Dam, were released, if the water was released. Mark Whiting, Hancock County Soil and Water Conservation District, had some grant funding, and we are using that to help pay a facilitator for our group. This is the second of 4 meetings that are being held. The next 2 meetings are Wednesday and Thursday night, Wednesday in Blue Hill and Thursday in Penobscot. Orland had their meeting last week. So we're meeting with all the towns, trying to educate them about what's going on and also help us make these decisions that you will get to in a bit. The key concerns, environmental and recreational impacts, of course, are loss of public boat swimming access, disruption of loon nesting habitats, and effects on conservation areas. Potential consequences of dam abandonment, significant town tax revenue losses. For example, if we're just taking the averages, but if the dam water was released and properties on Toddy Pond that are in Surrey, the water would be released as far as much as 8 feet in reduction, water level reduction. Property values have been estimated to go down by $200 to $250,000 in tax revenue lost from those properties that were devalued because of this issue. That means Surrey will have to make up a deficit from other taxpayers or from somewhere, because we still need that $250,000 or $200,000 to make ends meet for the town. Impact on town services could be potentially negatively affected. Fire protection concerns, that's particularly acute in the Orland area, and business disruption, which I've mentioned already. This is an 8-foot drop in Toddy Pond, and if you want to, on your way out, if you haven't looked at the maps over there, you can see just how dramatic that is up close. In July and September, we formed 5-town dam committee. I'll just say it's now the 4-town dam committee because Silver Lake is a class all by itself because Silver Lake is, it's got, water, for one thing, so it provides water for the town of Bucksport. And so Sue Lassard, the town manager of Bucksport, is heading that effort to keep that dam from water from being released. It has tremendous economic consequences for the town of Bucksport. In this town, the 5-town dam committee, we tried to coordinate our messaging and put bi-weekly updates on our website. Each town has a website, and there's a section under dams, and you can see the kind of work we've been doing over the past months since July. We initiated impact assessments, and we explored ownership solutions, and that's what we're going to ask you to help us with tonight. If we do end up having an entity that's created, which you'll hear about in a minute, that entity will have authority to assess taxes on the members of that watershed authority, or what I'm calling it an authority, it's really an entity. Bucksport passed a dam abandonment ordinance that prevents this company, Bucksport Mill LLC, from releasing the water. And Orland enacted a 180-day moratorium to prevent the water from Toddy Pond being released. Next slide, please. The Bucksport Mill submitted an application to the Maine DEP. November 1st, the DEP accepted their petition, and by December 13th, all municipalities completed town votes required by the statute that's governing this process to pursue potential ownership discussions. Each town had a meeting, and the basic question was, do you agree that the town will enter into conversations or consultations, I guess it's called legally, with the company to consider ownership in some form. We had a public meeting November 14th. It was a very limited exchange. It was in Bucksport, and the meeting did not really constitute a formal town consultation. Everyone was invited that would be affected by these 3 dams. And the Bucksport Mill representatives that were there did not answer the questions that we all had, and they referred us to a month later going to their website where they said that the questions would be answered, but they really weren't answered satisfactorily. The consultation requirements under this law is individual or group consultation, municipal officers consultation, owner reports to the DEP late April on consultation status. That means that the owner, Bucksport Mill, gave a report to DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, on their consultation status. And DEP granted a 180-day extension until October. This is very recent, so that we have more time to digest this process and come up with a solution. If we decide, or if there's a decision made that this entity that we're trying to create does not want to purchase the dam, in this case, we're just talking Toddy Pond, what happens? After this 180 days plus 180 days, 360 days goes by, the Department of Environmental Protection asks these 3 agencies if they want to buy the dam. It goes to Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, Ag, Conservation and Forestry, and then Maine Emergency Management Agencies. And it's our understanding from talking with people in Augusta that these entities are not likely to be wanting to raise their hand and say, well, I'll buy this dam. Yeah, sure, because there are hundreds of dams around the state. And I don't think some of these agencies anyway, wouldn't want to set a precedent. This law that I mentioned just now, it's never been tested. It was, I think, enacted in 1996. We are the guinea pig. We're testing that law. So we're in uncharted waters, if you pardon the pun, and we're feeling our way along. And thanks to our representatives in Augusta, we're getting some help with that. The current initiatives, the governor's bill going forward is going to expand the consultation requirements of any company wanting to release water from a dam. They're also proposing, and Gina can help me out if I get this wrong, proposing a revolving fund that might help with dam assessment and renovation. And another initiative in the legislature going forward is enhancing MEMA's ability to increase inspections and technical assistance. We had a great talk at the Alamo Theater last week or the week before. That's also going to be on our website probably tomorrow or the next day. It's a video of the presentation that was given. Gina was there, Susan Lassard, Bucksport was there, and an engineer for an expert in dams was presenting his data. So I urge you to take a look at that. It was a very good presentation. This is the current water level in Toddy Pond, and that's the way we want to keep. That's the way we want to keep it. So this is what we're aiming for, to keep this pond, this great pond of ours, in perpetuity. So that's the reason we're all here. You're here because you're interested in keeping this property, this pond, and I really am grateful that you showed up to show your support. So the key considerations is the legislation to create a quasi-municipal watershed protection district. This is what we're, Nina Milliken and Steve Bishop are working, helping us work on. It's going to be governed, we think, by an appointed or an elected board. We're going to consider funding by town contributions, property owners' assessments, or both. And this entity, quasi-municipal watershed protection district, would have the authority to own, operate, and renovate Toddy Pond Dam. But when I talk about this with members of the public, they say, well, you know, how are we going to actually know this is going forward? Well, once we have this in hand, once we have this legislation enacted, we will be talking with you all in meetings like this to inform you about the next steps. But ultimately, it's your decision. The implementation of such legislation would be up to you, the public, the voting public of each town. So I said that your input is needed today. I guess I'm going to ask for a show of hands. How many of you think we should keep the pond and not allow the water to be released if we have that power, if we can do that? How many want to see the lake preserved? Okay, so the question that you're going to answer at your breakout groups is, all right, that's already been decided. The big question that we have is this cost allocation method. And I'm going to ask, Gina will take over in just a minute, but basically this is asking us to decide who should bear the cost of this process of owning and maintaining the dam. And what the homework that has been done by this group, many of us in this group, and by Nina and Steve Bishop, our representatives, there are at least 4 or 5 dams now that have gone through a process, not this process, because this law they weren't governed by this law. But these 5 entities decided to take on a dam, and it's the average cost to maintain a dam. And I know dams are different, but I'm just saying $10,000 a year is what it costs to maintain these dams that we've looked into already. So if there's a cost allocation method, and assuming that the dams will be given by Bucksport Mill LLC, and by the way, we have never heard word one from Bucksport Mill about any data from their inspections, reports of the status of their dams, any repairs that have been done, and they have basically stonewalled us since November 1st, when their petition was accepted by DEP. And that's a whole other story. So tonight, we're going to ask you to break out into groups and decide if the town should pay, what does that look like? If the people who own lakefront property should pay to help maintain this dam. And Gina, I'm going to turn it over to you. And oh yes, before we break out, I put a lot of data in front of you tonight, and apologize for the rush job. I'm going to make sure that all these slides are up on the website in a couple of days. And if you want to take a closer look at them, give me a call afterwards if you have questions. Actually, better to email me and then I'll call you back, because I want to make sure that your questions are answered. If you have any questions, we're going to keep it to a few questions now before we can break out. And we have somebody keeping time, I think, to make sure nobody goes over their time limit, but I want to make sure that you have a time to ask a few questions that maybe we can answer. And there, let me introduce Harold Hatch. Could you stand up? Harold is the select board member of in Penobscot. He's on our four-town dam committee. Mark Pasucia is from the Tiny Pond Lake Association, has been very helpful to us. Mark Whiting, Hancock County Soil and Water Conservation District. And these folks have all been working hard with us, trying to get an answer to, trying to get a solution to this problem that we all face. Medea, did you have, and Medea, I'm sorry, Steinman, she's here to help facilitate, moderate if she needs to, and we welcome her to this process.
How long are you giving each speaker, Mary?
2-minute answer?
Okay.
Yep,
The
2-minute
whole-
question.
The whole thing is we're trying to keep the Q and A's to 5 minutes.
That's
So
it.
yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Gina. Gina's gonna pass the mic.
I keep hearing you talk about purchasing the dam. I thought if they abandon the dam, does
Yeah.
that mean
I did,
if
if I,
you abandon a dam, aren't you just walking
Yes.
away?
if I
Why
said
do you say purchase?
that was a mistake. If I said purchasing a dam, sorry. Yeah. Obtaining the dam, I should have said.
There's probably a pretty good chance that none of that information exists because of the matter that the mill was dismantled. I mean, Harry, you might have a, but it was, you know, those are files they put them, they were just a junkie.
Well, just to jump in and to try to answer that a little bit. The current owner has done maintenance, has done inspections as of last June. It was a thorough inspection of all 3 dams, including underwater divers. That's the kind of information that we need to get, and we need to get the cost of what they've been spending over these years to help us make these decisions, and we're doing our darndest to get it.
Terry, you have a question?
Good evening, Bob Reeder. I was just wondering if the engineers or people who have looked at this have given consideration to changing climate. I know we had some storms last January and actually last December before that. If the pathway of the water changes with the changing climate, will this entity be responsible for new pathways or new dams?
The idea is that the entity is going to take the ownership, management, and responsibility. So whatever needs to be done in the future, we'll talk to that group to do it.
This woman was never introduced.
Excuse me, everybody. Gina, I never introduced you. Gina is Gina Bushong from the Town of Orleans Select Board. She's our fearless leader for the 4-town dam committee. I'm sorry, Gina.
That's right.
Yeah, I was just curious if, someone is willing to buy the dam, will AIM sell it for $1 or do they want some significant amount of money? I would assume they'd sell it for $1 if they're willing to abandon it.
Can you state your name, sir?
Tim Ames.
Thank you.
Actually, AIM has been trying to get rid of this dam for a couple of years now, and they've tried to let me sell it to you for $1 route, and that didn't work. Nobody wanted it. So they have now gone to the abandonment, which involves no money. And in fact, the statute says you can't not give it to somebody because they refuse to pay you. So I think the whole idea of buying, spending money to acquire it is at the moment off the table.
Oh, yeah.
You have a question, Terry, I think? Who's next? Right here. Did you have a question?
No.
No, okay.
Hi, Tammy Anderson. In the history of Toddy Pond, I understand that the dams were built by the local people and not by the by Sport Mill or by the mill. And that later on, another dam was built in 1840, I believe. 1830 was the first ones that were built locally. 1840 was the ones that was built in Portland. And I understand that the mill bought the rights to only control the level of the water. And that's according to the Toddy Pond history. And if that's wrong, then my apologies, but that's what I understand. So buying a dam that doesn't belong to them is something I don't understand.
I can't speak to your data, but they do own the dam.
They do own.
I don't know exactly what transpired. I can't give you the history, but I know for a fact that they do own it, so. But they own the water rights as well too, so yeah, that's all there.
Hi, Courtney Weaver. I was wondering, has the towns paid for an inspection on the dam? We keep talking about waiting for the inspection that was done by Bucksport Mill, but what about us going in and having an inspection done so we can see what the cost would be to maintain or to at least improve the dam if needed? And I wanted to know more about water rights. Will the water rights pass with the abandonment of the dam? Will those water rights go to whoever or the town municipality that is being created?
We've actually thought about the idea, but we would have to get permission from the current dam owner to do an inspection, because you can't go on their property, to do an inspection without their permission. My guess is we'd be hard pressed to get that permission right now. Secondly, a thorough inspection, which we really need to do the underwater inspection with divers, is no cheap prospect. So we would have to significantly raise money to be able to do that. It's still something maybe we might need to try to figure out how to do, but right now it's expensive and we don't have authority to do it. Water rights, it's my understanding from what they filed, that all of that would transfer to whoever takes ownership.
Gina, 1 minute.
One last question?
What's in the corner there?
They've been asking, yeah. The board's almost at its limit.
Hi, Reva O'Rourke. I was met with people at the table when we were leaving to vote, and checks were being given for this cause. And it seemed to be almost a given that we're all just supposed to accept this without a lot of questions. So I'm glad you're doing this tonight. But even when we started, it was basically, a comment was made that we all basically accept this. And so I'm glad you took a vote, but I am here to speak for the environment as it originally was in my precious, beautiful state of Maine, where my family has been here for hundreds of years. And I just would like at least the idea to be given some weight, that it be considered even what would happen if it were returned to the way it was. Instead of just talking about money, money, money. I'm here to speak for the environment and the precious way that my state was for thousands and tens of thousands of years before any of us showed up just a little while ago.
And just a quick response to, real quick at that. I think you're not alone in that feeling whatsoever, and that's, we really did want to hear from people, and it was put out cavalierly, like, okay, the decision's been made. That's why, if you see the first question we were asking is, should they be preserved? The other key issue with this statute of abandonment that we are looking at is not a dam removal ordinance. It's a dam abandonment. They drain the water and they leave the structure, which is an environmental disaster, because those structures are going to deteriorate over time, crumble down, block the flow of the water, cause flooding. There's nothing making them take that dam out, which is, it's stupid. So that's a real consideration.
One more.
So forming any group, what needs to understand what the liabilities will be? You mentioned one about estimate about 10 years. The other one that is me concerned, especially since we're not getting any data, is what the capital expenditure is going to be to put the dam right if it's not right. Do we have any estimate of what you're walking into? Because I think that's critical before anything like this gets formed. And anybody, signs up, yeah, we're gonna come up with this payment plan, and then find out there's $1 million.
Again, a very valid question. Nobody has done the studies to figure out, and in fact, I think everybody that's been involved in this not only wants to get them rehab, but wants to make them significantly better in terms of less maintenance and significant improvements to fish migration. There's either turning them into Rockville Dam or better fish ways or whatever, so that we can improve that fishery. We don't have any yet. That's before you guys are gonna vote on this down the road. we're gonna need to have some better information so you know how to vote. That's absolutely true. We also think that it won't be that, well, one goal will be to find the money to do the rehab stuff. It won't come out, hopefully not out of taxpayer dollars, but well, they're all taxpayer, the government, either federal or state kind of funding to actually make those major repairs. So, all right, I apologize, but we probably need to leave the Q and A at this point because I already went past the cutoff period. What we want to do, and I know there's lots and lots of questions about the details, and we're sorry that we're compressed in our timeline here, but we really need your help. One of the key questions is if we're gonna keep them, how's the maintenance, the normal operation and maintenance gonna get paid for? Is it gonna be all out of the town revenues that they raise from taxes and the normal course of business? Is it all gonna be on the lakefront property owners on these ponds? Or is it gonna be some sort of combination? And if it's a combination, what's the right balance? We desperately need you to help us figure that out, because I don't know the answer to that, only you guys can. So what we're gonna do is get you set up in breakout groups, and we're gonna try to keep them balanced between two different kinds of people. And we've got 5 groups, and this is table 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Gina, one sec.
Sorry, Gina, just before we do the splitting up, I wanted to say, I feel an obligation, my role, I'm being paid through the grant fund to act as moderator and facilitator. And I just wanted to echo a comment made earlier. Not everyone in the room did raise their hand to the question, should the lakes be preserved? Should these ponds remain as is? So there were at least a handful of people that I saw who did not raise their hand. So just before we do this breakout, I want to ask, the moderators and everybody, please make room for everybody's opinions and listen respectfully. And please, anyone who's feeling like you're not in the majority and a little scared to talk, please try to push, go ahead and say what you want to say. This is for everyone.
That's a really good point.
Sure.
We absolutely want to hear everybody's opinion. The goal is for each breakout group to try to come to a consensus answer on what that funding split should be. And if not a consensus, at least a majority viewpoint to help us figure this out. So what I'd like to do, this is going to be an active participation thing. So we're going to split you into 2 groups over on that side with those who are here that are voters that do not own lakefront property. Will you go there? And wait, hold on a second. And those who are voting residents that do own lakefront property, go to that corner.
Eventually assigns it.
And then.
And if anyone isn't in one of those 2 categories, they were.
The other, oh, ma'am.
So non-lakefront and lakefront, assuming you're all property owners.
They're all voters, right?
Everybody's a voter. This is non-lakefront, that's lakefront.
Lakefront, but voter in Surrey.
Yeah.
How about the people that are lakefront owners that aren't residents of Surrey?
Are you resident of any of the 4 towns? You're a lakefront property owner.
Yeah.
Okay, go with the lakefront property owner.
Back there. Lucy, that would be you, the lakefront.
Okay, all right.
That again. Lakefront property owners that votes.
They don't vote.
I know. Yeah.
Okay,
That's out of town too.
okay, there's Medea. Which are you?
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay. All right,
Take
which
the
side
mic.
are you on?
Take the mic.
Okay, we're gonna count you off from 5, so it's table 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're gonna answer the 2 questions, we'll revisit the lakes should remain, and the steps to keep the lake. second question, is that split in funding between towns funding it through their regular revenue sources and the lakefront property? And then we'll have a quick.
Okay.
All right, we're ready. Okay. That's it. One.
Five.
One.
Five.
We're gonna have to get chairs for. Yeah.
Okay, not everybody. Good time in Virginia. Part of bar. One.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, overnight. Yeah, thank you. Take one. Okay. That's page 3, 4, and 5. All right, that's the best. Okay, you're, is that on? Push that, turn that on. Are you gonna do this one or do you want me to do this one?
I'll do this.
Okay.
Keeping this microphone on because we are Zooming it. And the poor people on Zoom are trying to get the benefit of the percent of the meeting, but we did okay when we were having the mics in front of us and showing the slides, but now the folks in the Zoom can actually hear the discussion. That mics are all the same. Here. Right. So what we wanted to do is I at least get some opinions, and I'm gonna grab that paper. Thank you. We just go around the room.
Sure, I'm about.
Sue Solo, and I'm on.
You were pressing seven.
Tammy Anderson, I know some family from Town Pond.
Mary Ellen, sir.
I'm Darcy, I'm just taking notes.
Bless you. So this legislation was going on our behalf into this current legislative session has to be written by us with the help of Maine Milliken and I'm blanking on his name, it'll come to me. Steve Bishop, thank you. we are going to be helping draft this legislation now. This doesn't mean it becomes law. I mean, it will be signed into law by the governor eventually, but it doesn't mean it's going into effect. It's just, if we don't do it in this legislative session, we wait for another year. And then who knows what would happen if we don't have anything in place to help us make decisions about the governance of such a thing. So that's why it seems like it's a rush, and Bob Balaban made a good point, we don't have enough information, we don't, but we still have to move with something that would be, and this is not something we just made up, this entity is, it's done all over the state. There's a water district here and there. This would be like a water district. We're calling it a watershed district. But it's autonomous. And the main reason that this would be a good model to follow is that it doesn't make any of the towns liable. The town wouldn't own the dam. It would be an entity other than the town. But since property owners on Toddy Pond, at least the ones that live in Surry, it would affect them. So what would be the fair way to divide the cost? Let's just say that we're not buying the dam, I made that mistake. We would take ownership, I guess I should have said. But what would be the way that we would pay for that dam? Let's say that it's $10,000 a year. Again, this is hypothetical. We're still gathering information. We will be for a couple of years still. But what would be the rational and fair way to approach it? Good, and this was on a survey. See that little card in front of Stanley there? The green card. If you haven't, take one home if you haven't filled out the survey. But there are many other questions on that survey we'd like you to answer. So if you haven't done the survey, please do. In any case, what we can do tonight is decide, should the town pay, should the town taxpayers pay 50% to maintain that dam for the town of Surry? We have 121 properties on Toddy Pond, full-time and including part-time, summer residents and full-time residents. So what would be the fair way to distribute? Let's just call it 10,000 a year to maintain the dam. How would we think, what would we think would be fair?
Can I ask something?
Yes, please.
This would be just for me. What if there were?
Same thing. It would be maintenance and repairs, but that's assuming that the dam is in good shape. Yes, so we wouldn't be using this money to repair a dam. This would be once this is all established and this entity owns the dam, how do we apportion the cost? Yeah, and I think there's protective clauses in this, like an entity, water district entity, watershed district entity. So what we want to do is protect the towns from any lawsuits if there's some problem with the dam.
How much legislation? Do you have any idea of how much legislation? Lighting it, promoting it.
So far, it's not costing us anything. We're asking our representatives to do on our behalf. They work for us. They were voted in by us, so they're doing their due diligence and working for us. Thank goodness.
Someone put in, I did some very initial research before coming here. And the person who did the evaluation of the dam in June, he brought out of retirement because of the shortage of people who didn't even do this job. That is going to be a problem going forward. I don't know how it's going to resolve.
Thank you for bringing that up. That was actually talked about by this engineer at the Alamo Theater. He did a, what did he call it? A report card on all the dams in Maine. All of them are D or D minus, D plus, thank you. And anyway, I urge you, if you're interested in digging deeper into this, he's got publications, but he did a good presentation at the Alamo, and that will be on our website. It's actually been put out by the Maine Monitor. If you go to the Maine Monitor article, they have a link to, you can watch that presentation. And just one more thing, it's true, they had to bring someone out of retirement to do an inspection. MEMA is absolutely not prepared to do anything with dam maintenance or inspections or classification, reclassification, it's just not in their wheelhouse, so it doesn't have the funds.
Engineers built 500 dams
Yeah.
in the state of Maine, one of which was brought out.
So along with a lot of the, climate change, anticipated experience, I was gonna expect dams.
Some dams.
Irene had a, I'm sorry, I took the mic away from you.
Listen to that program. Just listen to the program. Go and review the program.
Main Monitor,
It'll answer a
Alamo
lot of
Theater,
questions.
Google that and you'll find the link. It's about an hour long
Yeah, that's what they're
presentation.
talking about today.
Yeah.
Has anyone done any work on a percentage decrease in real estate value for folks that front the rate?
Yeah.
And folks who don't?
30 to 50% devaluation of the property.
Because it would seem to me that the who's going to pay question is related to how much their loss would be.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's, we're trying to get to that.
I feel like that's what you were looking at, something like that was kind of the number. But it also has occurred to me that it doesn't necessarily have to be such an evaluation. I mean, the way property is valued is based on what someone thinks the value is. I mean, that can change over time with different attitudes and it may be that not having a dam there, we don't let loose and destroy off the property actually would put down or instead of the other way around. Because if it were to release now, it would be devastating and it's not in use.
So, thank you. We're looking at mud flats going out 20 to 30 feet in front of somebody's house.
Hundreds.
Initially, well, in some cases, hundreds of cases. Yes, that's right. Yeah. So let me just get a show of hands before we go too much further. How many of you think?
I've got one.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
In listening to your presentation and as far as we go, the only comment. I don't see how anybody could possibly make any decisions on this with all of the variables that are out there that are unknown. And I personally wouldn't vote on anything having to do with this until known.
Sure.
Now, the dam on Town of Surry. I've got property out in all as well.
Yeah.
And I remember, I believe it was 72, and we had a tremendous amount of rain. And that end of the dam goes down through what's called Tower and Stream. Goes, the road, gone. The water was actually running so hard, that it was 3 feet higher than the previous level. Those types of situations petrify me. We just went through education a lot. But my property actually went up about 6 years. Surrey, beautiful place, doesn't have now. If I received 25% increases on the property taxes. On the posting of land, stand on the size of the land. It's just not worth it. And most dams. Yeah. I envy all of my thoughts. I'm that. I just.
Thank you. I
I just
understand.
think that
I understand.
it's a difficult situation.
I understand and,
And we don't know, we don't, we don't know.
we're asking, I think what we're doing is asking people to think hypothetically, if this legislation is going to be written, and it has to have something in there about the cost apportionment. And if this legislation is written without those numbers, it's not gonna go, it's not gonna pass. Now, this legislation doesn't oblige us to do anything. We're not voting on this. It's a bill. The bill can sit there for 5 years and be amended eventually, but in order to not lose another year of time, we're trying to get something, an estimation of what people think is fair. we've heard 50% the town should pay. And then the people who don't live on the pond say, well, I'm not paying my taxes 50% because I don't even use Toddy Pond. So what would be fair to you? I want to hear something. I need some.
As far as, those investments, I was called out roughly about 250,000. That would be lost in revenue. That's if the body of water.
Yeah.
If that happens, that money has got to come from somewhere.
It's coming from the rest of the
It's coming from the rest of the
that
residents.
don't live on the pond.
Exactly. So this is something to consider. You know, I'm not saying that we should, you know, that the town should put the entire bill, but I'm saying that we are a community. When the school needs, kids to go to a different school, we all come together and we do. I don't have any kids.
Right.
I don't have anything in the school system. I support the school system because we need that school system to be a community.
Yeah.
So in everywhere we look in this community, we have to consider that. Now, yes, we live on the pond, but we are paying higher taxes than anybody else who isn't on the pond. So I feel that that's fair. Now, if the dam gives out and we lose that, and now we also have to take that loss, but we're still paying, well, I mean, now
Yes,
you guys
reassess.
have it, right? Now the town has to pay. So one way or another, the town has to pay a portion. If we lose the money, then, I'm sorry, if we lose the dam, their taxes will then go up. If we keep the dam, then
We have to pay for
they're saying,
maintaining.
no, we have to pay more taxes. I can tell you my taxes on that pond in 1 year, double. Double. And now they, yes, double.
70%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in 1 year. And to have this go up is just, to me, I think unfair. We,
So,
on top
I've
of
got
that, we have to deal with the mud flats, we have to deal with these,
We don't have much time. We've got 5 minutes to come up with some numbers and then that's great.
Yeah, I wanted to speak to that too, and I kind of liken it to what is going on in Newbury now, where the climate change has really wreaked havoc on the beach. And everybody in town is paying to repair the road so that the people on the other side of Caring Place Beach can access their home. So that they can maintain their property value, so that they can continue to live there. We didn't even consider letting it go back to the end of the road. I think that's a beautiful thought, but I think we're too far beyond that to feasibly do. And Toddy Pond is called a great pond, not because it's a great place to live, but it was one of the great ponds. Hancock County considers it to be one of the greatest recreation areas in the county, if not in this whole part of Maine. And on an average day, there are, average weekend summer day, there are over 50 boats that enter on that landing. We do not own the landing, the state owns the landing. We do not own the water, the state owns the water. We do pay a premium for the privilege of living on that waterfront. And I think it would be shared by the entire town, just like we share in all the other joint things that we have in this Town of Surry.
That's a good point. Thank you.
totally agree with everything.
Yeah. And we need to come to some sort of a
I know,
decision.
Steve,
And,
quickly say, when I was growing up, there were mud flats. I went to school in Sullivan, and there were mud flats. And it was considered part of the Downey's Maine. Downey's Maine is covered in mud flats. I knew people who planned, I knew people who burned. And that was part of our life here, part of our lifestyle. And that's gone. And I know people complain about the smell, but I find it much worse, all these places where people go swimming and everybody's dumping their ashtrays out on the parking lot everywhere. You know, so we've made these places for people to use and people that have expensive homes on, but it has damaged the environment.
So I think we're gonna have to come up with some numbers, and those who don't want to give me any numbers, that's fine. You can say, I'm not sure, I don't know, I don't think this is the way to do this. But I need to have some people who feel strongly, I think, about the town picking up some of this cost, the lakefront owners picking up some of that cost, and what should be the proportion. The town pays 50, the lakefront owners pay 50 to maintain the dam to 10,000, hypothetical $10,000 a year. how do we break this up fairly?
I have my number.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Start,
Yeah, go ahead, Brad.
start around 80, 20, 50, 60.
I have reservations. I think the town is supporting so many things. It's becoming like a welfare.
Yes.
So I think zero. For the town.
That's my number too, 0.
Okay, we'll come back to you. So, for the pond owners, 100%, 0 for the town.
That's the man.
That's you and, okay. How about you? So 50-50?
100% to the town, correct?
Taxes for everybody, whether they live on the pond.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a Newbury resident. I agree with what he said about the town. I think it should be 100%.
So if the whole town picks up the tab for this, like they're picking up for the Newbury Neck Road.
Correct.
Although Newbury Neck Road, to be fair, is coming out of grant monies, but there is some matching fees that go.
George Stevens, extra fee.
No, but we're not doing any work until we get it, so nothing can be done. Okay, so,
I haven't thought about this, because I thought it was gonna just have to be 50-50,
Yeah.
but, maybe I'll stick to my 50.
okay,
I know that.
that's okay. Yep.
Yeah, I think it should be 5. I mean,
So 100% for the, yeah, okay, yep.
Just for yeah, that's my view also, that, so, I live on Newbury Neck. But, you know, I don't think we have suggested that the people who live south of Newbury Neck could have to pay play in terms of continuing to live there. So I think the process is the same. It is our community, and we do have, you know, maybe not as much access as we would like, but we do have access.
Right, so 100% down, okay.
I would expect the people who live there, if I were living there, and I own 2 homes, and I didn't want to pay more taxes, I don't get it. I'm working poor. I can't handle anything else. I can't handle it.
Okay, okay. This has been extremely useful. I'm so glad you all got to be on table 1, because I've learned a lot from all of you. You had some great points. And this is a tough thing, believe me. The people on this Fort Town Dam Committee, we are pulling our hair out. There's so many unknowns. We're trying to move forward. We're trying to get answers, and we are just doing the best we can for our towns.
Thank you. I was feeling that too. The folks that did it never have to provide information. There's nothing in the existing legislation that says.
Consultation, they have to enter into consultations with the appropriate bidders or somebody who's interested in taking over. We,
So far,
they said, no,
But the
nothing.
state has responded to a letter of
Our lawyers,
they have told them, you need to cooperate. And if they don't, this is just happened. It is
Yeah.
so,
it's just like 5 days.
letter and from the state back to them, they say, you need to answer these questions, you need to provide the documentation.
Plus they're saying that we'll give you the information, but you have to sign a non-disclosure. Which means.
We need to have our report out.
So I appreciate your work.
Let's go.
Sound like fun, and I really.
This works so hard.
No, I can tell you've been fun.
Thank you for all you've done on this,
And it's
because I know you have burnt the candle up.
Okay, everybody, time's up. We gotta have a report out so we can wrap this up. So. Time's up.
Okay.
Get a report from your group. And let's all come back together so we can hear what each group had to say. Okay, never mind, stay where you are. Stay where you are, never mind. If we can have the 5 supporters come up front.
No, yes, but it.
Would the 5 reporters come up front?
No, no, he likes it. He likes it.
Right.
Report. Okay. Reporters up front.
So I don't think that that's.
I need the other.
Sorry, she finally said.
3 reporters, please.
Order.
Okay, we need two more.
Oh, I see, it's still.
Hey, here.
Yeah, it's basically such a better 200 pounds and one is 50. That's zero for the
Eighty or 50? How many? Yeah, 140. Nobody. No, wait. Sure.
Okay. All right, first off, let me just say to everyone, thank you so much for helping us with this. I know it had to seem like a very tough conversation to have 20 minutes to try to get something pulled together, and it was not easy. But any feedback we can get, because we want your input, because we can't do this by ourselves, and we don't want us to do this by ourselves either. So thank you very much. We're gonna have the report outs from each group, and it'll be really interesting to see if the groups came up with the same answers or not. So we will start with.
Yeah.
All right, we'll start right here.
I got it.
Table 5 voted, 6 votes for the town to absorb the costs. 1 for the property owners to absorb the cost, and 1 for a 60-40 split or some sort of percentage.
Just to keep the process, some integrity to the process. There were 2 questions that I asked the reporters to please speak up. Okay, all right, so I'm asking the reporters to not ignore the first question. All right, the group was given 2 questions. The group deserves to hear from each table with regard to, did you ask the group how many people want to keep the dams? First of all, if you didn't ask the group, that's a problem. Second of all, how many said yes, how many said no?
We want to keep the dam.
Yes, we asked the group, it was, I think it was 7-1, one of the dams, one of the lakes to be kept. And then the vote was 6 for the town to assess the taxes evenly. And 1 was just the property owners, and 1 was 60-40 split. 60% of the costs for the town and 40% for the property owners.
So there's still work.
So sorry, the table, the whole table, was there a consensus?
Yeah, we're on the majority.
Yeah.
Dig that.
So 6 out of 7 said what?
No, that is the law.
Right, so was there a consensus?
Yeah.
We heard that. Okay, it's confusing. You can say again what the consensus was.
Yeah, the majority want to have the town to absorb the property.
The task.
All right, table 3, we had a great conversation. I was very impressed. Consensus was to keep the lake, and that was unanimous. The consensus was the town shoulders the maintenance burden, going forward. And they did put a plea in that if there's any way to increase public access to Toddy Pond, they'd like that. Okay.
Mark has a little more than we did. Table 2 was 10 to save the water level, 1 to release the water, and basically unanimous to have town financing pay for any lost tax revenue. So we were at table number 4 and we had a consensus to maintain the lakes. Through dam or whatever, and we had a consensus that the town should. Maintain the dam or whatever it is, and there was also though a strong feeling, as Mark's group said, that if there was public access, that it would make the consensus much stronger and attractive.
Hi, I'm Reba Rourke, and I have to make both those reports now. My paper's a little messy, so. So we had 9 people at our table, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 want to have 100% on the town to pay. And 1 said 50-50. 2 said, 0 on the town. And 0 on the pond. So with 50-50 town for 1, 6 with 100 on town, the other 2 were 0 for both. And as far as wanting to keep the dam, 2 said no, to let the water out, and yes for the other 7 to keep the dam.
Perfect. Anything else that any of the tables want to report in, what to that question? Okay, we're gonna be done in 1 more minute. Well, I cannot thank you all. It sounds like that most of the tables pretty much came up with the same response, and that in itself is amazing. So thank you very much. All of this is going to get posted on the recording of all of this will be up on the Surry website. We will be having many follow-up discussions with you guys as the thing progresses. So again, thank you so much for coming out and giving us what we needed tonight. It's really appreciated.
And thanks to Irene and the comprehensive plan committee.